Larry tried to kill me.
Yeah. I was so thoroughly disgusted.
I mean, think about it. Why does it make you special to do what you do?
Packers jumping around. They rush 4. Plenty of time for John. Now squeezes, steps up in the pocket. LA can run. Inside the 10. Head first. He dives off the 5-yard line. My goodness.
Rushing 4, ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground, and it's still on the ground. Picked up by T.J. Ward at the 4-yard line.
There's also Brian Clady and Bob Miller. Third and long 3. Going deep. Oh, and he's got Thomas. Goodbye. Touchdown.
Here we go. First snap of the overtime. The Broncos have been in 3 overtime games this year. They won them all. Got him. Got him at the 40. It's Thomas at the 50. Stiff arm got him 3 to the 30. To the 20. Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on the New England. They win it on the first play of overtime.
Can buy myself flowers. Oh, sorry. What?
Oh my God, I love that song.
What's up? And welcome to the 5280 podcast. We're finally back. Yay!
Actually, Glenn's back.
After taking a break because we just didn't want to do anything. But no,
Dude, I was ill, man. I was illin'.
That doesn't count. You're old. You're always ill. But yeah,
Wait, I'm old, but you replaced me with Bronco Bill? Like, come on.
correct.
It's like replacing a Twinkie with a ding dong.
Oh boy, we're already starting on that. All right.
How can you not ignore what just happened? Like,
Oh boy, here we go. But yeah, welcome to the 5280 podcast on the MHRT network. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, redo stuff. I forgot how to say all that. Thanks for joining us.
keep it simple.
Make sure you check out all the other shows that we have on the channel. We got the Sports Nonsense and Whiskey coming up right after us. But we did just have a Super Bowl, my guys. That's messed up, Glenn. Already. See, you're already messing with Bill.
Really, Bill, do we want to compare what's messed up? Hey, Ty, what's up, man? Thanks for coming in.
But yeah, we did just have a Super Bowl, and I think as Broncos fans, we all wanted the Eagles to win. Obviously, that did not happen, and really, really sucks.
Hold on. Retract first. You think?
Listen, there were a lot of people going around on Twitter like they're in the same division. We got to cheer for them. No.
Then they weren't.
The
Then they weren't Broncos fans to begin with.
I'm just saying.
Dude, I can't imagine in any realm rooting for the Chiefs to win. That just doesn't make sense. They wouldn't root for us. Like, we shouldn't root for them. It's elementary.
I was talking to a person at work about this, and like, you know, it's funny because like in college, like you have like a completely different mindset, right? Like, especially like during bowl season, like in bowl season, it's like, okay, you know, if it's the Big 10 conference, Big 12 conference, you know, whatever, and your teams are in the bowl season, it's like, you know, you want your teams to like do well because it means that, you know, you've had a really good record against, you know, other conferences. So like at that point, like you want to root for, you know, teams, unless you're Michigan and Ohio State, like you never
right. I was going to cite that.
Yeah. You know, you never want to like, you know, be rooting for, you know, a team necessarily that, you know, is in your division. So it's like, it's weird, like, you know, when you correlate the two, but like in the NFL, it's like, no, the moment the Super Bowl hits and it's someone that's like within your own division, or, you know, someone like, I ain't touching that team with a 10-foot pole. I'm rooting for the other team. Like, I'm not messing around. Like, I'm Philadelphia Eagles, I'm Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm whoever that team is playing, the Kansas City Chiefs, or whoever's in the AFC West.
And that really goes for throughout the course of the season when the conferences are playing one another. If it's an NFC team, I'm rooting for them all the way through, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's Ryan. So Ryan was going to join us on the podcast today. He was going around on Twitter, and he had a dream to be on a podcast and talk to Broncos and get into the background stuff, and he was going to join us on the show tonight, but he had a family emergency. I hope everything is okay. I hope everything turns out okay. You are welcome anytime. Just let me know. Slide into my DMs, and we'll chat about it later.
Yeah, we're praying for you, buddy. We wish you nothing but the best, and so we definitely have you in our prayers.
Oh, yeah.
Hope all goes well, Ryan.
But that Super Bowl was a really good Super Bowl. I think up until the end, it sucks.
Up until the end,
up until the end where they had to make that call, but it was a good call. Like I know it.
No,
listen. Even the corner was like, "Yeah, I definitely helped."
You know why he said it?
Go back and you look, and the jersey is stretched. Like it was a holding call. It was a.
You know what?
But they hadn't called that call all the time.
It sucks that they had to call it at that moment, but it's not like they called something that didn't happen.
Do you know why he said it though? Do you know why he said it publicly?
Because it happened.
But because it's like the reason why he said it publicly is because he, for one, as a player, when you have that kind of accountability, you don't want to deflect it, in where it needs to be. You don't want to cause a certain distraction, and especially for a Philadelphia Eagles fan base, you don't want to create even more, firestorm, especially with everything going on. So like him coming out was 100% the right call to begin with. And so it's like, and to what Glenn said, like they literally, had not called that all game. And for one, if we're looking, when you have a holding penalty too, it's never within 5 yards. It's past 5 yards. And it's like, we're talking about a penalty that like, that when you look at it just strictly from the penalty side of things, like it was within 5 yards and they never even called it at all during the game. That might have been the one game that I can even recall that no pass interference penalty was probably even called in that entire game until pass interference penalty or even holding penalty on a defensive back until that moment. And especially when you're in with that moment and you've never called a single thing, let them play. Let them play.
Right. Let's be honest.
Right. I'm with Cam on the let them play.
The Eagles never should have been in that situation.
No, but also Bradbury is a free agent, and he probably wants to be signed by the Chiefs. So, like, it's a smart move.
Did you guys see the shot that actually both took? Juju Smith-Schuster and AJ Brown basically, taking a shot at Juju Smith-Schuster. Did you guys see that today?
TikTok boy, you mean?
Yeah.
That's what AJ called him. Yeah, the fake Valentine about I'll hold you whenever you want, and it was James Bradbury's face on the Valentine. Like that was that was a little much.
Yeah.
No, again, like it sucks to have the game end like that. But again, the Eagles never should have been in that situation. Like they're up 10 points in halftime or coming out of halftime. Never should have happened. But
excuse me.
Oh, and then you had Goodell, who was in the press conferences like, a couple days before. It's like that's refs have been since the league. I was like, what are you talking about?
That's not the entire story here.
That's all I care about.
No. The hug with Chris Jones. You saw that, Mike, right?
And then I don't care how you hit a quarterback.
Audibly saying, "I don't care how you hit a quarterback." I mean, Cam actually posted that on his Twitter and got quite a response off of it. But it's like, this is a guy that body slammed Russell Wilson at the end of that game and did not get called for it. And the commissioner is being swung around like a girlfriend on, that's been reunited with their boyfriend after, a year. Like it's swinging him around. I mean, That is bizarre for a commissioner to be. What was the point of, like, what prompted that comment?
Yeah. Well, and even if it was a passing comment or just something that was not to be taken seriously, when you are a commissioner of the National Football League or within the National Football League in general, you have maybe the biggest microscope on you aside from a politician, right? And so it's like when you know that all eyes are literally on you in quite literally the most important game of any sporting event, World Series, Super Bowl, you name it. And that's the kind of like response that you give, which is, I don't care how you hit a quarterback. I don't care what situation you truly are, being forced in. But, for Alex bringing that up, it's like, that only puts more fuel to the fire as far as a rigged discussion. And it puts more fuel to the fire that they rigged this potentially for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. And it puts fuel to the fire for Broncos fans, us, when we watch the game against the Kansas City Chiefs of the phantom, call that happened on Cortland Sutton or the Chris Jones, roughing the passer. So it's just, it adds more fuel to the fire about like what else is going on behind the scenes right now. That's, was certainly going to be done. Because especially, I think people are bringing up the Kansas City Chiefs. It's like, Glenn, you live down there in the New England Patriots neck of the woods. It's like that was also kind of a thing within the New England Patriots era with Tom Brady. So it's like, this is not the first time that something like accusationally this has happened before.
And I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, but what happened to, hey, congratulations, I'm happy you won. Like, great job, you guys. That was a incredible finish. Like, nothing. I don't care how you hit the quarterback. I mean, that's bizarre. That's a bizarre comment for the guy running the league. And the lifting the up, like they're bros, was just weird. Listen, again, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but
it makes you wonder.
Like, pull up Alex's comment because
I did.
You did? Pull it up again. I didn't say it. Listen, thank you for buying that script. I'm all in on that script, man. Broncos winning it all. That sounds great.
Speaking, I don't know who tweeted out, but there was a Twitter account that tweeted about that. Like, I had the script for the 2020
script.
For the 2024 season or upcoming 2023-2024 season. And it had like the Broncos going like 12-5 and the Chiefs going like 11-6. So basically the script that he tweeted out like had the Broncos winning the division. But I will say, like, if you pay attention to his tweet, and again, I'll have to share it to you guys, but it's like the one thing, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but instead of saying the Commanders, he actually said the Washington Redskins. And it wasn't just like the Washington Redskins name, like the logo was also included as well. So it's like, I don't know if that was intentional, but yeah. So
who was the player that said, when you had me blowing out my Achilles in the script, that was unbelievable. Like, that was like a crazy twist or something.
Vaughn.
Was it Vaughn?
Vaughn, yeah.
I will say that was probably, I don't know conversationally like where that ranks for me all time on Twitter, but it is up there. Like, from the moment that original tweet happened, like that was one of the greatest things I had ever seen conversationally from a lot of people in terms of that script discussion. It was phenomenal. One of the best things I'd seen on Twitter.
The script.
So talking about Super Bowl, talking about players that potentially could be coming to the Broncos. Sean Payton and Rob Gronkowski had a very interesting
that was hysterical.
little skit during the Super Bowl. Are we going to get Gronkowski?
No.
Not even a little bit.
No. I'll talk to the Walton Penner group and see if we can rename the team to the Broncos.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so funny. It was so good.
I think you said it best though, Mike, because like it was a skit. Like there was no way that Rob Gronkowski is going to be a Denver Bronco, even though to some, Rob Gronkowski is considered to be maybe the best tight end we've ever seen in the National Football League. And so to potentially have him be available and to potentially have him, be a Bronco, I think would be great. But, it's just not going to happen. I would imagine, he's going to be staying retired and frankly, probably be recruiting Brady, if not Brady's, coming to Fox anyway. So, I mean, like, so I'd imagine that tandem is going to be, reunited again on Fox anyway. But it's not going to happen. You want to talk about a pipe dream, and I deal with pipe dreams all the time when I deal with looking at NFL free agents. That right there, Rob Gronkowski as a tight end for the Denver Broncos is like the pipe dream of pipe dreams.
So I'm pulling this comment up. Is
which one?
Is Groninger a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
In your
Who's
opinion,
Groningen?
It's Groningen.
Roberto Groningen. That's who we're talking about here.
Doesn't Groningen sounds like something that there'd be a 1-minute commercial and then there would be all the side effects if you took the Groningen pill?
The only way we super chat right now is if you type super chat and then chat.
Exactly.
And then that's the only way we got super chats right now.
Can we plug the BPA show? That's the Boggins and Coyote
BPA show. That
effort.
For best
player available.
And by the way, go check them out. They just released their first episode. They're some of the best dudes on the planet, one of the most intellectual people in terms of the draft. So go check out Boggins, go check out Pat, the work that they do. It's great stuff. And if you guys are idiots and you don't know what BPA show stands for, it's the best player available. So if you guys are idiots, now you know.
It's a good show. You can go over to YouTube and watch it at BPA show. I checked out their little teaser earlier today. That was pretty
These guys are putting the Pacific Northwest on the map, quite honestly. I'll be honest with you. We have Starbucks and then we have Boggins.
BPA show. Yeah, that's what it is. So
thanks, Ray.
Let's talk a little bit about Super Bowl related stuff, and then we'll kind of go into the Broncos. So we just had Shane Steichen get hired. Is he actually hired by the Colts? Or they
hired by the Colts and Gannon hired by the Cardinals. The Eagles staff is absolutely just shredded right now.
Best paninis available. Spelled panini.
Panini?
He doesn't know how to spell it.
Imagine
you guys are the one of one for panini, and I'm not talking about the crushed sandwich. I'm talking about the trading card.
Well, I was gonna say, imagine having the last name of Coyote and not understanding, being with Boggins, how to spell the word panini.
Yeah. All right, so let's update everybody out there real quick of what's been going on. So Fangio is now with the Dolphins. You have Evero, who's now with Frank Reich and the Panthers.
By the way, that staff is incredible. I don't know.
That could be interesting.
Well, did you see the other news? Did you see the other news today?
No.
So one of the coaches that we actually interviewed for the head coaching job, not just Drew Evero, was hired as the offensive assistant for the Carolina Panthers in Jim Caldwell.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That staff is incredible.
It is incredible. I don't know why he's just a consultant and not on the staff. But
well, he's again. Go ahead, Glenn. I don't mean to.
So I was going to say also the thought is that Carr is a serious consideration. Derek Carr for the Carolina Panthers. Also, I mean they could inherit a very strong quarterback, and people can say whatever they want about that guy. I would have taken him in a heartbeat a year ago, 2 years ago. I would be thrilled if he ended up in the NFC, quite honestly.
I saw Boggins' tweet earlier today about Derek Carr, and he was questioning why people think that Carr is a good fit in Carolina. Not because of being with Frank Reich, but because the Panthers have a top 5 pick. They can go get whatever quarterback they want in the draft. Why would they want Carr?
Well, I think the thing that gives them flexibility here is you're not giving up assets for Derek Carr. So, I mean, and two, if you're being able to sign Derek Carr to your big money deal, and actually Boggins and I had that conversation of, why I really like the idea of him in Carolina. It's you have multiple first round picks, and you have this idea that if you sign Carr, you're not giving up capital for him. And so you could potentially use that still to build up your entire roster, whether that's, being able to, have an offensive line. Not saying that they spend a top level pick, on an offensive lineman, but like you can still be able to build your entire team, around this idea that, you're not giving up any assets. And so like once you have the quarterback in place, you can, everything else will be able to fall in line. So I don't know. I just really like the idea.
Yeah.
And plus, you have the what is it? The wide receiver room. It's not like elite, but I think it's pretty good. And in Terrence Marshall and DJ Moore, and I don't know if Ian Thomas is a free agent or whatever, but Ian Thomas is the tight end, not a top echelon tight end, but he's good. He's good enough. But
they
then
have
you got
McCaffrey, and they have Greg Olson, and they have Steve Smith Senior. I mean, they're loaded.
But that was Glenn's Stephen A. Smith impersonation. I forget who it was. Steve Smith said something along the lines of like I forget who it was. He said some dude's name. Oh, it's Hunter Henry. Like Hunter Henry is is on the
Chargers,
like, on the Chargers or something, and he wasn't even on the Chargers anymore. He's on the Patriots.
All right.
Yeah.
Are we just going to stop trying to spell Panini at some point?
I think you were right the first time, but the one thing to Carr's advantage is he has a 4-day head start on Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be sitting in the dark later on this week. So this is good. Carr's going to get his pick of the litter, it appears. So
yeah, and one thing I did want to bring up. Okay, it's Panini. You right the first time. I love it. But one thing I did want to bring up about Derek Carr was that he has told people he is not waiving his no trade clause.
No, he's already been cut, man. He was released today.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like he wasn't going to waive.
I love it.
Clause, so he's making them drop. I wish that they had kept him on for another day, because then the Raiders would have been screwed with $40.4 million.
Well, they wouldn't do that. That's the beauty of this whole thing, is that he spent 2 days with the Saints last week, and he basically worked out an agreement. And so then when it came to the Raiders making a deal and probably getting a 3rd-round pick for him, he goes, I'm not going to waive my trade call. So we're talking about the Panthers, but he's probably going to end up in New Orleans because he was just there.
Yeah. Alex, I'm going with that spelling. That's perfect.
Well, I think that's what's going to be interesting, is because, well, now that he's a free agent, there's a lot of ways to interpret it, right? Like there's a lot of ways to interpret it. So he did have his visit, and we should clarify, a lengthy visit with the Saints. So he was
multi-day.
So like he was there for a day, and then he had another day where he went back into the headquarters, which kind of threw everything, the speculation window for the Saints. But like, I think it would be interesting. So like, obviously Tom Brady retired, and I know Boggins was listing teams and talking to him on Twitter. It's like, it's funny that when you pontificate and you speculate potentially teams that he would go to, I feel like it's funny that like the teams that might be interested in Derek Carr are all in the NFC South, like except for maybe the Atlanta Falcons. But it's just like,
they're in the South too.
Yeah, but so it's like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Carolina Panthers, the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't the Falcons be? I mean, Desmond Ridder is not necessarily the answer.
He could be the answer, but yeah, it's just it's funny that when you look at it, like aside from say like maybe some of the teams of like the AFC may be interested in him. Which, by the way, I think if you're Carr and you've made it a point to kind of screw the Raiders, I think it would be fun to continue to see him screw the Raiders in a sense and not do right by them, and go to an AFC team, and go to like the Jets and maybe go to a team like that, and then you're still in conference. And so if you get the opportunity to play against them, I mean.
So don't you see Rodgers with the Jets?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's where I think he's going.
Well, and that's just what's weird about it, is because the money that they were able to free off the books, the Raiders, I think Field Yates had a tweet today that said that they freed up upwards to close to maybe even $50 million.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe they use that to Maybe they use that to get Rodgers, but I would have to imagine that the only reason why Rodgers would ever be a Raider is just simply because he wants to be with Devontae Adams again. That's the only reason why I could truly see that.
I honestly think him and McDaniels would clash.
Exactly.
So hard.
Exactly. And so like that. And so, but logically, I'm kind of like under the impression that like from like the Broncos this last offseason, and the reason why I say that is because like we didn't know Russell Wilson would be a Denver Bronco or even be available. And so it's like we were under the impression it was going to end up being Broncos, Packers, or retire. And I think that like we're under the exact same impression this year, except for it's the Jets, the Packers, or retire.
Right. So to Ty's question, nothing yet.
Well, and I was going to expand it. You got OC and defensive coordinator, and we heard crap about Rex Ryan. Are we going to get Rex Ryan?
Man, I don't know.
They have to get if they do, they have to have a giveaway of like you get a ticket upgrade if you get a tattoo of Rex's wife in a Mark Sanchez jersey. But speaking of Broncos OCs, Outen got signed by the Titans as a run game coordinator, and he has an additional responsibility there. So he is officially off the market. But I mean, to his credit, in those 2 games, he got himself interviews for offensive coordinator positions at least the Ravens, maybe more. So,
yeah. Well, and speaking of coaches that have been on the team, you have the Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, is now on the Chargers.
Right.
Upgrade, downgrade, feel good about it, feel bad about it.
I don't know. It's hard to say. We thought maybe originally Joe Lombardi would be an upgrade, for Justin Herbert. I think initially on paper, yeah, it looks like, it does look like an upgrade, but I think that for the Broncos and for their, it isn't just the offensive coordinator position and defensive coordinator position, but it's like, it's the entire staff. Like we still have no idea what the entire staff is going to end up looking like. Yeah. I know that from everything we gathered, they interviewed 6 potential candidates for defensive coordinator. I'd imagine Ejiro Evero is within that. So you're looking at Evero, you're looking at Rex Ryan, you're looking at Sean Desai, you're looking at potentially Mike Zimmer.
Did they interview him, or he's just a name that was mentioned?
Mike Liss and Albert Breer have been not poo-pooing that rumor whatsoever. In terms of, and so.
Did you say poo-poo?
Poo-pooing, yes.
Okay.
There was no poo-poo.
That's right.
Sources say the poo-poo was at a minimum.
Right. So I don't know. It's just the Mike Zimmer thing really is fascinating. The Mike Zimmer thing is fascinating still to me because, you don't need to go very far for him. He's not technically on staff, and I use that in air quotes because like he doesn't necessarily.
Wasn't he going to Colorado?
There's not a role defined though for Mike Zimmer. So I mean, and plus not just relationship with George Payton, but there's obviously a relationship with Sean Payton. And I know that there's a rumor going around that maybe he might be on Gannon's staff. So I don't know. Maybe you're looking at it from the standpoint of maybe they hire Sean Desai or Chris Richard. Chris Richard was another one that they interviewed for defensive coordinator. Maybe you're looking at it. I was just gonna say maybe you're looking at it that they hired Desai or Richard as defensive coordinator, or the wild card promote Christian Parker from defensive backs coach to defensive coordinator, but you bring on Rex Ryan or Mike Zimmer as a defensive consultant.
Well, and one of the other names I'd heard was the Eagles linebacker,
Nick Rawlis,
young
yeah,
coach.
But he might go to Gannon though, right? With Gannon,
right? That's or he could be promoted to Eagles defensive coordinator. Yeah, but the guy's 29 years old, and the way they've described him is the Sean McVay of defensive minds. So that's that would be very interesting if Payton, who seems to be stacking his coaching staff with experience would have somebody that's sub 30,
And I think that's what's interesting. Yeah.
So another bit of news that came as far as coaching was that Azani is interviewing elsewhere, including the Bills.
I mean, the guy's last name is Parker. I mean, he's my brother from another, literally. I mean, I can't deny how good Christian Parker would be.
Alex, name one C Parker that would be that's effective. Come on now. We need I'm sorry, Cam, that was just way too easy.
I will hey.
There is one thing, without having any real knowledge of any offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators that are coming in. Mario actually tweeted about the possibility of a big name player being on the trade block for the Broncos. Now, I'm assuming everyone is sitting here. Okay, Simmons was taken off the table. Simmons is not on the trade block. So take that one out. Surtain's
I actually messaged Mario. I'm like, please tell me it's not Justin. Please. Yeah. And then in the meantime, he actually said it was not Justin.
Surtain is not the one that's on the trade block either. So take that one out too.
Jerry Judy's not even on that table.
You're looking at like Sutton, Bowles, and
so Albright already said it was Bowles.
Yeah.
Bowles?
Apparently he said it on the zoo. But first of all, so we all know that the three of us know Mario Vitanzi, and I think the world of the guy. Okay, you're out.
I'll make sure I tell him that.
And I particularly love when Mario says something on Twitter, and then someone undoubtedly remarks, this guy doesn't know shit. Like, he doesn't, like, what does he know? Blah, blah, blah. And just not knowing that his job is actually working on these players and such. But
yeah.
When you think of the offensive line in shambles and the fact that we could possibly trade our starting left tackle for picks, which would leave us one guard, Quinn Miners, out of the five.
One of the names that was brought up is that, let's say that we do end up trading Garrett Bowles. Mm-hmm. What about Orlando
Brown?
Yeah, Orlando Brown Jr. from the Chiefs. Coming in as a free agent at left tackle.
I don't know. I see that as a very, very high long shot. For one, I don't know of off the top of my head any top free agents for the Chiefs. So I would imagine that he's going to end up being tagged. And I also imagine, for one, we're talking about in division, and two, we're talking about him probably not even wanting to leave, Kansas City after winning a Super Bowl. So, I mean, the likelihood of him joining a team like the Denver Broncos would solely probably be based on money.
Yeah.
And so there's not even a guarantee that he would be even an option to me.
Right.
Maybe Taylor Lewan, but I think that the thing is that you do have a free agent market and potentially even the draft that you could potentially look out and get one, but who knows? It is interesting that Bulls would be the candidate, because it is unfortunate that the Broncos would put themselves in a situation where, as Alex put it in the chat, you may be looking at a new left tackle, a new left guard, maybe even a center, maybe even, or I should say a right tackling, because I think that another trade piece that we can't ignore here is potentially Lloyd Cushenberry. I think that, that Cushenberry and even Bowles could even generate some trade interest, because it's I think obviously Cush would be far less of.
I was just saying, would Cush get any draft?
Don't know.
Push at all?
No, I don't know. But I don't know.
It's funny that you mentioned push, because the guy didn't push at all, as a blocker, nothing.
Well, and there was, I don't remember, it was either Sayer came out with it or somebody on Mile High Sports was writing about.
First off, Sayer doesn't write for Mile High Sports. I appreciate.
No, I said Sayer or somebody on Mile High Sports. Okay. Cam, jeez,
I'm just
wow. Repping the brand, Cam. My God,
right? Jeez. Was talking about 3 potential cuts to save. I think it was $25 million in cap space, and one was Darby. And a big one was Glasgow. Like
he's 11.
He's like 11, 12 million in cap savings if we cut him. So right there goes your. Let's say that he does end up getting cut. There's your starting center, backup right guard right there.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe we did see how good Glasgow was at center with Russ there, but I mean, you do have you do have, I think, the possibility of a guy in the free agent market named Ethan Posick, who's a guy that Russ has been very familiar with down in Seattle. So I think it would just be about how comfortable would you be with, having Russ bring in his guys. And I think that's where, if there's a conversation to be had about who would Russ want, for this team, the only input I would say, maybe except for maybe wide receiver or something like that, the only, I would say, input that you would probably want Russ's opinion on is who do you want as your offensive line and who do you want people to be protecting you, because you want to make sure that they have the best chemistry and the best possible, relationship as possible. Because, I mean, we are talking about a quarterback that needs to be in the best possible situation for himself as a quarterback, especially going into next year.
We did bring in an offensive line coach, right? He was the coach with the Saints.
Yes, Zach Strief.
Okay. So I don't know. Like, I guess my question is, with Payton as coach, are we going to be able to bring in some high-level free agents? For example, let's take Michael Thomas. We hear that name all the time. Mm-hmm. Is Michael Thomas going to want to leave the Saints and come to the Broncos because of Sean Payton?
Well, I think one of the things to keep in mind here is that, like, when we go back to the offensive coordinator position and just solely Michael Thomas / whatever, if it's true that maybe the leader in the clubhouse,
hi Glenn,
if it's true that maybe the leader in the clubhouse or someone that they might hire for offensive coordinator position is Ronald Curry, which is a name that has been, thrown around, is Ronald Curry. If the Broncos hire him, people need to remember that Curry was maybe the biggest mentor for Michael Thomas. And so if you bring on that, that guy as offensive coordinator, then the likelihood, or the much stronger likelihood, that Thomas will come here is much stronger. And two, I think that I'd have to do some digging, but if I'm not mistaken, Michael Thomas has his contract, I think, is like $1 million as far as a dead cap, and so on and so forth. So if they cut him, he's not worth much on their cap at all. So,
Cam, I don't mean to interrupt you, but if you say that, you have to $1 million. There you go. Keep going.
$1 million.
Exactly.
And for all you young people, that's Dr. Evil on the Austin Powers movie.
If they've not seen Austin Powers,
Mini-me, stop pumping the laser.
Shame.
Mini-me.
Well, I will say.
Anyway.
Yeah, I will say, in free agency, there's only one thing that I want, and that is sharks with freaking laser beams head.
In free agency.
Now there are a couple interesting names in free agency. Right now, we have Chase Edmonds at running back, and that's it. Oh, Chase Edmonds was the third one that they could cut to save some cap space. But like Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, those are interesting names to potentially bring in. I mean, there's also the good old reliable Mark Ingram, who was with the Saints. He's also like 35 billion years old. Latavius Murray. I think they're going to have to bring in 2 free agents. Don't you?
I don't. It's just
because Javonte will most likely be back October, November. No idea if it's going to be the Javonte we remember, but he'll be back in October, November.
And let's not discount the draft either, and discount the possibility that George Payton again might actually end up drafting a running back high, right? So, and may I interest you in maybe a Deuce Vaughn a Kansas State running back, potentially a guy who looks like Darren Sproles, a guy who potentially could fit within the Sean Payton offense. I mean, hey, I will gladly take a Deuce Vaughn, in that Sean Payton offense. I will say, though, I doubt that he would even be making it to our pick. Now, granted, if we recoup assets and draft capital, maybe that's another story, Bulls, whatever. Say we get like a second round pick or whatever, and Gibbs from Alabama's there. He's literally the guy that actually screams Alvin Kamara when you watch him. And so you would be like hard pressed to see the fact that, the Broncos would literally be interested in him because he literally loves Alvin Kamara.
So when they were talking about Bulls being on the trade block, did they mention what they possibly might be looking for? First, a second, a couple thirds?
No, I granted I didn't hear the audio.
Like if Bulls is on the trade block, what might the Broncos want in exchange?
So Mario actually tweeted 29 minutes ago. I've been paying attention to Twitter throughout.
Stalker.
And said, I'm curious what the Broncos would be able to get for Bulls. I think a late second / early third plus a late day 3 pick would be best case scenario, but wouldn't say it's super likely. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So we're probably looking at like a third and a seventh or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe. I think at the end of the day, if you can be able to get a top 100 pick, if you can, I think that's ideal, and that includes a third round pick. So I mean, like if you can be able to get that, I think that's ideal for a guy like Garrett Bowles.
I just don't know how you get a top 100 pick without hurting the team with the player that you're trading.
Well, and it's good, and it is a good point. Like Alex brings up a good point for, like I know people have been harping on the Russell Wilson deal, but it's just like, and I know he's joking with the 4 first-round picks, but like I know, but again, people joke about the Russell Wilson deal, but it's like if you go back to it, like he put 2 people that were on expiring contracts, a quarterback that at that point in time, maybe nobody really wanted, a guy who recently did sign his extension, so they needed to offset some money in Shelby Harris, and they only got rid of 2 first-round picks, so the one for this, this last year, and then, the one that's going to end up coming, this year that they offsetted with the Bradley Chubb deal. So he's known for getting these deals, and especially the Bradley Chubb deal.
We've had 2 first-round picks this season.
Yeah, right. So
yeah, we traded a first-round pick for a guy we had no intention of signing. It's so, just the whole Chubb thing just kills me because when we had him, all we heard about was that we bypassed drafting Josh Allen for this guy, right? Then we trade him for a first-round pick, and it's like, how could you trade a cornerstone? How could you trade a cornerstone of this organization?
And then lo and behold, that first round pick turns into the biggest, the biggest cornerstone we could ever ask for.
It's crazy.
You see people out there like, I think we need to trade Justin Simmons so we can rebuild this team.
Oh my God.
Why would you trade away the face of the franchise? Like, you look at anybody on the Broncos and it's like Justin Simmons is literally the best safety in the league.
He's my favorite player on the Broncos. So like when that tweet came out, I didn't think it was likely, but I did panic a little bit. Like, holy shit. Like if they get rid of my favorite guy, this guy is done. He's not, no. Yeah. Listen, I've been with this team forever, but this guy is not only like an incredible player on the field, what he brings to the locker room, what he brings to the community, and the fact that he has not tasted a playoff game, like hasn't played 1 minute of a playoff game in his career. It's just like, it's such an injustice at this point. Like we need to get this guy in the playoffs like pronto.
Yeah.
So, for the fact that people were suggesting that, I was panicking that we would trade him. And then there are people like, this guy, we haven't made the playoffs since we had this guy. It's like and I saw that his mom, Kimberly, is like, I just blocked this guy.
Yeah.
And make no bones about it. I mean, you guys can clearly tell who my favorite player is. You can tell on the back wall over here, but it's just
I'll
like
say Mario. That's what
you know,
your sweater says.
But and then you got the Justin Simmons Foundation over here. But it's just like I don't know. It's like I'm with you, Glenn, because it's like and even
I got Justin back there too.
Right. So I think that and if the rumors were true that the Bradley Chubb trade severed the locker room, if the rumors are true that it severed the locker room, then what is trading Justin Simmons going to do? Like literally.
What was funny is we were privately told by somebody pretty well connected that Chubb was not liked in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of an interesting thing that was one of the deals that came out after the trade was that he was so, one of the guys that was so beloved when those walls was traded and the team just fell apart after that.
Signed hat.
Yeah, I have
all right, Landon.
Okay.
Credit where credit is due there, kid.
That was my hat that I let you use. That's mine.
Hey, I have a signed jersey over there. I have a signed helmet, and I have a signed mainly Broncos hat, which happens to have Von Miller on it as well.
Good for you.
So Landon actually met with Mike. He met Justin in person and signed the hat Landon was wearing, but it happens to be Mike's hat. So this kid is treading on thin ice, quite honestly, because you could pull rank, get the hat back, and then what's he left with?
See, you let me use it. Yeah, it's still mine.
You let me use it.
Alex says, 2 years ago, I tell you, the richest NFL owners, Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, it only cost you 3 first-round picks. Washington paid that for RG3.
And didn't the Niners pay that? I love it, Alex. And the Niners paid that to move up to get Trey Lance, right?
Yeah. And now we don't do we even know getting off topic a little bit, do we even know who's starting next year for the Niners? Is it going to be Trey Lance because of the Tommy John?
According to George Kittle, he wants it to be Brock Purdy.
Right, but Brock Purdy is going to have surgery, which might let him not start the season, right? Because even if it's not Tommy John.
Maybe they should go after Derek Carr.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know anymore. The other coach I wanted to bring up was with Kellen Moore leaving Dallas. Dallas hired Brian Schottenheimer, which is a name that we brought up numerous times in connection with Russ. So he's obviously not going to be an offensive coordinator. But does Brian Schottenheimer raise Dak Prescott's stock?
I thought you were going to bring his name up again as far as an offensive coordinator in Denver, and then I got worried.
Does Brian Schottenheimer raise Dak Prescott's stock with what he did?
I don't know, but I have to say, when Dak Prescott got announced at the Super Bowl as Walter Payton Man of the Year, and so one of my friends is a Philly fan and actually was at the game, and he says it was about 75-25 in terms of did he touch the ball, Alex, or did he drop the ball? Just asking.
I don't know. I have it on good authority that I can catch the ball pretty well, and that's a source close to the situation.
Source close to the situation.
But did you see when Dak got announced to the Super Bowl crowd as Walter Payton Man of the Year? That was and he loved it. That was the best part. Was he just was grinning from ear to ear, like I would expect nothing less than for these guys.
Admittedly, if you're not a football fan and you're looking at and you're hearing the boos, you're probably like, that's such a really bad look, and or take it back. Like if you're a Cowboys fan, that's like a typical response,
right?
So, but it's just one that I don't know. It made me chuckle because you knew for a fact, you knew for a fact that those were 100% all Eagles fans. Which, by the way, I was surprised. I know the Eagles lost, but did you guys notice? It certainly seemed like there were a lot of Eagles fans.
Well, like I was saying, Cam, my friend that was there said it was probably 75-35 or 75-25. I can do math. Eagles, Chiefs.
Well,
I give 110%.
I give 100. That was a very depressing flight home for 75% of those fans. Then.
It was like an all Eagles charter too. It must have been just
Yeah. Now, any other big news you guys want to cover before we go? Did we hit it all?
No, I mean, I would imagine that we will get our staff finalized this week. That's, I think, the expectation is we'll get our staff finalized this week, which means that we'll probably be getting everything. Maybe not just offensive coordinator, but defensive coordinator, and I'm still kind of holding true that I think that David Shaw will be on this staff one way or another.
Did we actually get an answer to do we want Rex Ryan as defensive coordinator? He doesn't really fit the scheme we have now, right?
Well, but I think the thing that I don't know, I don't know that answer, but I will say it's notable. The one thing I will say, I don't necessarily know if I believe it, but I will say it's notable in the sense that Sean Payton has had relationship with the Ryans. I mean, Rob Ryan was his defensive coordinator, and so that's why I think potentially him as a defensive consultant can't be ruled out, for him being on the staff. So
let's bring in good old Zero Blitz Greg Williams to the team.
It would be quite a feat to land Rex Ryan as defensive coordinator, I would say.
Yeah.
I do too. I wonder if, Pat Surtain fits in the scheme. I wonder if Josie Jewell fits in the scheme. I wonder
Surtain's fine. Surtain's fine. When he came out of the draft, everybody said that, that he can fit any scheme. So that's not an issue.
Cool. Don't
remember when people said that
Mike B.
Remember when people said we should have taken Justin Fields ahead of Patrick Surtain? I think that's every day people still say that, which is so dumb.
But do you guys remember that story? Well, I should say the story within that draft. So apparently, the way it went, I guess, in the draft is that they apparently KOA, Dave Logan, and Benjamin Albright got word that the Broncos pick was in, and they overheard or they thought it was Justin, and so they assumed if they heard the word Justin, it was Justin Fields, and then 5 minutes later, 5 seconds later, ended up being Pat Surtain. So I don't know if you guys ever heard that story, but it was just Logan and Albright kind of heard overheard what they thought was Justin, and in fact, it ended up being Pat Surtain. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to about do it for us. We really don't have much to talk about. Once we get some more news about coordinators or players or whatever it may be, we will let you know.
We're gonna hire Alex as defensive coordinator.
There you go. That's exactly what we need to do. And Mario Vitanzi is going to be the backup quarterback for now.
No, he's no backup.
He's going to be the strength and conditioning coach.
Oh, there you go. That'll work.
Yeah, we did get rid of our guy. So
yes, we did. But yeah, thanks for joining us on the 5280 podcast. I don't know why it says that. I just changed it and it didn't. Decided not to do it.
We all make mistakes, Mike. It's okay.
Well, apparently I was typing and thinking on two different things. Let's try it again. Here it goes. But thanks for joining us on the show on the MHRT Network. Make sure that you check out every other show we have on the network. We've got the Cluster Puck on Monday. We've got the 5280 on Tuesday, followed by Sports Nonsense and Whiskey on Tuesday right after at 8:30 Central Time. And then we have Wild Wild West on Wednesdays. We got Broncos Breakdown with Bronco Bill on Friday. And then this coming Sunday, Bronco Bill and myself are doing the neighborhood with the Avalanche. Make sure you check that out. Go like, subscribe, follow, share, turn on notifications. There, I got it. That's the one I was missing.
Speaking of stalking, turn on notifications.
Light hugging.
Yeah, there you go. So you got everything that we got going on the network. When we go live and when we post videos. Also, make sure you check out the BPA show with our guys, Mr. Boggins and Pat Coyote. And we will see you guys, I don't know, next Tuesday, I think. Maybe.
Your days get mixed up.
For the most part. I said next Tuesday. We're just going to end on that because I don't know where we're going. So, bye. We'll talk later. Bye-bye.